Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you surely know that this is my series in which I use tarot and oracle cards to help us explore topics related to living the intentional life. And friends, before we dive into this week's spread, let me ask you about burnout. Have you experienced burnout? Are you experiencing it now? Do you know someone who's experiencing it now? Well, what the heck is it? I mean, what causes it? There are several causes that you can find listed online, and they range from things like the expected lack of balance between activity and rest for extended periods of time. That makes sense, right? But it could also be a feeling that we don't have full control over our lives or our activities, that we don't have our autonomy. Some people say that it could be a sense that the perceived rewards do not match the perceived effort put in. And when we think about all of the reasons, and I did only scratch the surface, I think they all boil down to a sense of a lack of balance, but a lack of balance that also causes resistance. And I think the resistance is actually the key. Yeah, we could look at a perceived imbalance and think, oh, okay, well, it'll correct itself sometime soon because the entire universe self-corrects. We swing in one direction and we swing in another, right? If we believed that fully to the core of our beings, we probably would not experience burnout. It's when we start resisting and we start cutting ourselves off from the powerful flow of intention that we start feeling that burnout. How? Well, you might be thinking, well, working too much and not having enough time to rest, what does that have to do with resistance? Well, actually, it has a lot to do with resistance. The reason why we're not taking enough time to rest is because we're feeling that sense of lack of time. If we were fully aware of ourselves and enjoying the process of what we were doing and excited by it, we would do it and we would do it and we'd do it and we'd notice a lack of energy and we'd say, okay, I can take a rest now, and then we'd go and rest and get our energy back. We'd come back and play with whatever it is we're doing. Whether that thing we're doing is working at our job, cleaning the house, changing a diaper on a baby, we could play in that experience if we didn't have the resistance to the activity and we didn't have the resistance to our perception of lack of time. I don't have the time to take a nap. I don't have the time to rest because I've got to get this done. That's all resistance, right? Now, this week's Tarot and Oracle spread is not about resistance. However, there are indications that that kind of resistance and potential burnout and our reactivity is possible. So, we're going to bring up the idea of resistance and burnout in the spread, and I just want us all to be on board with the understanding that that burnout is not because we're too active, but because we are resistant. Does that make sense? I hope it does. If it doesn't, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to engage with you. Yeah, I think a lot of us do not notice where and how much resistance there is. So, again, this spread is not about resistance. This is actually going to be a very interesting and, I think, invigorating, a revitalizing, and an indication of revitalization spread. So, let's dive into the spread right now. That was the full spread. And if you have been with me for a while now, if you're a continuing viewer, you will recognize this spread. I've been using this spread for the last lunar cycle, and we just switched over to a new lunar cycle. So I did change out 2 of the decks in the spread. And if you're curious about the names of the decks and the names of the creators As always, there will be a short clip at the end of this video that will give you that information. And also there will be links in the description box below so you can go and purchase one or all of these decks. To my knowledge, at the time of this video recording, all of the decks are available. So go check them out. Now, two of the decks I was using last lunar cycle. Do you recognize them? I decided to keep the two that were created by Christine Payne Towler in action this lunar cycle, but I added two more. I switched out two of them. So I think they're gorgeous, and I think they're going to read beautifully together. So what are we going to do? I'm going to break this spread down into what you probably noticed was the 4 sections. Now, there were 4 cards on top that give us the information about the divine light pouring into our circumstances and into our lives and into our natal charts at this time in the coming week. And the question I always ask is, how can we live our lives more intentionally? And this is the divine light beaming into the answer of that question. Then we're going to look at the 3 cards that were from a different deck and laid out in a vertical fashion. And those represent the thing that is growing in that divine light, the sprout of the Ace of Wands. And this spread is based on the Ace of Wands. Just in case you didn't know, I've got a walkthrough of this spread on my channel, and I'll put a card up here if you want to hop on over and take a look at that walkthrough of the spread. And in that walkthrough of the spread, you'll notice that the 3 vertical cards indicate the wand that is growing out of the ground in the energy and the light of the divine. And then we'll look at the 3 cards which come in horizontally from the side. And those represent the hand coming out to take hold of, to grasp the sprout that's growing. So the idea here is, how can we grasp that which is growing in the light of the divine? And then you'll notice that there were 2 round cards at the very bottom. Yeah, those are oracle cards, and they're going to give us some advice. So that is the order that we're going to read this spread in. You probably already knew that. What we're going to do right now is we're going to dive right into that grouping of 4 cards at the top, which is the divine light, the divine information. Here we go. You probably know this deck very well by now if you're a follower of this channel, and it's a gorgeous deck. It's a deck that I love and has helped me grow a lot as a tarot reader. And so this is where we're going to start. And you notice the 4 cards. Starting in the upper left-hand corner, we had the 4 of Discs, card we haven't seen in a while. Then we had the Queen of Swords, actually, my favorite queen in the deck. Of all decks, actually, the Queen of Swords is just my favorite. And then we had in the lower right-hand corner, the Knight of Wands reversed. Only 1 reversal card in this spread this time. And then we had, in the lower left-hand corner, the 8 of Wands, upright. Now, if you know me, when I use this deck, I always shuffle in reversals. Yeah, when I riffle shuffle, and I riffle shuffle a lot, I split the deck in half, I turn half of it around, and I riffle shuffle. Then I split it in half, I turn half of it around, and I riffle shuffle. And so I'm always shuffling in reversals and reversals of reversals and reversals of reversals of reversals, etc. So it's interesting that there was only 1 card in reverse in this spread. And I think that's going to be a very integral shadow aspect to the divine light that is pouring in. And there's a lot of light, there's a lot of energy in this 4 square part of the spread. Did you notice that? Did it look as energetic to you as it looks to me? Well, we're going to start off with the 4 of Discs, right? And let me show you that card right now. Here we go, all upright. I hope that you can see it here. And you can see the eagle sitting on a bed of flames, right? Looking energized, but not potentially burnt, as one might think this eagle might feel in a bed of flames. Yeah, this eagle might be feeling stimulated in a potentially uncomfortable way, but is not in like pain and is not burning to death, right? And you see below the eagle there are 4 discs, and we can think of those 4 discs as possible eggs. Like that eagle has laid 4 eggs, and in the heat of this fire, the eagle is using the fire as an incubator to hatch the eggs of the 4 elements. Now you can also think of those eggs as an egg for each element, which is interesting. And at the very bottom, you can see that it says the 4 of discs, and it also says Taurus ruled by Mercury. Why? Well, it's because this is the 2nd decanate of Taurus, which is the Virgo the Virgo room in the Tauran house. So what we have here is the Virgo decanate of Taurus and its sub-ruler Mercury, from which the mutable aspect of fixed Earth's vital attributes enter our world. Yeah? Enter our natal charts. Enter the reading that we're giving. The mutable aspect of fixed Earth's vital attributes. So we've got the fixedness of Taurus being modified by the mutability of Venus, of Virgo. It's been a while since I flipped that way, of Virgo. And the planet is Mercury. Now, because this is the 2nd decanate, we also have a complement, which gives us Venus. Venus in Aries. Venus is in the house of her partner. Mars is Venus's partner, right? Aries is the domicile of Mars, right? So Venus is in the house of her partner Mars here. And in that sense, we can think of this as her adapting to circumstances, rearing her nestlings. We can think of this eagle as a symbol for Venus, rearing her nestlings, her chicks, in the house of her partner Mars. And that powerful Martian energy with all of that fire, which is uncomfortable for her because she's normally more at ease in earth and air signs, and yet she's in a fire sign and she's using that fire to get her chicks ready for a life of power. Yeah? So, Venus in the house of her partner might ask us to consider, what are our needs? What do we need now? But we also want to consider our entitlement. Do you know that you are entitled? Are you arguing with me right now? You are. Whether you are male, female, cisgendered, transgendered, intersex, non-binary, black, white, brown, Asian, tall, short, whatever. Whatever your physical form and place in society, economically, socially, if you are watching this, you are privileged. Now, you might argue that, well, this person has much more privilege than I do, and yes, you are certainly, I'm sure, right. But just because someone has more privilege than you doesn't mean that you don't have any. Can we get on that same page? Yes, there are people who are much more privileged than I am. That does not negate the privilege that I have. That does not negate the privilege that you have. And you might be looking at me saying, well, you're much more privileged than I am. And I'd caution you to understand that your perception of me may be a little different than my actuality. That I may not have as much privilege as you are projecting on me. And yet, I may still have more privilege than you, and yet that does not negate the privilege that you do have. Does that make sense? I'm not trying to put you down. I'm trying to get us all to recognize that we all have privilege. And whatever that amount of privilege is, even though it may be less than somebody else, comes with responsibility. So in this card, we also want to recognize that our entitlement, our privilege is a blessing and a burden. Let me say that again. A blessing and a burden. Those privileges we have, the entitlements that we do have, and we all have them if we are watching this video or taking part in it, whatever we're watching it on or viewing or hearing it on, we have a modicum of privilege and entitlement. And that comes with responsibility. We have great accomplishments that are possible for us. We want to acknowledge those. And with that great potential comes great responsibility. The responsibility to live up to that potential, to live up to the privilege that we have, and to be willing to share that privilege with those who may not have it. In this card, we also have growth, which is sped up because of that fire, right? And the potential to express our talents. The talents that we have, which we are privileged to have. Our willpower, our drive, our ambition, and our passion are all heightened here. And we might have a heightened tolerance for risks as well, and excitement in the face of danger, which could allow us to move beyond whatever boundaries or limitations we've set for ourselves, but we want to be really clear and really aware, not careful so much as aware of what we're doing and what we're moving into and where we're going, right? This is all part of this. Because Taurans are not really known for speedy, quick movement, right? Actually, neither are Virgos. But Mercury is. And Mercury, I think, is heightened here, being in the Virgo decanate of Taurus. So we've got Mercury fired up here, especially with Venus being in the house of her partner Aries, her partner Mars in the house of Aries. So our earthiness is a little bit ramped up here, and we might not be used to it as much as perhaps a fire sign would be. This applies for all of us, whether we are earth signs, we are fire signs, we're water signs, or we're air signs. We all have the earthy quality, and maybe we've been wallowing a little bit in our earthy quality, and we're now getting ramped up in that earthy area of our lives. And this card, this beautiful Four of Discs card, is facing the beautiful Queen of Swords, right? And who is the Queen of Swords? You can see the Queen here with her sword above her head, very relaxed. It's a very easy thing for her to wield and to hold. She doesn't look burdened by or stressed out by that sword that she's holding. We also have that Trinitarian pyramid of the divine eye peering in above the head of our beautiful Queen of Swords, who is standing on an Ouroboros in the clouds. You see the dragon-shaped Ouroboros that she's got her feet planted on and she's standing within, right? Gorgeous card of power and energy and independence. Which is interesting because this Queen of Swords card points to Libra, which is the house of, or the domicile of Venus again. We got Venus again here. Right? And which gives us cardinal heirs, vital attributes entering our world, entering our natal charts, entering the question we're asking: how can we live more intentionally in the coming week? Well, part of that is inhabiting our Queen of Swordsness. We all have the Queen of Swords within us. Whether it's an attribute that we access frequently or lays dormant most of the time, we have the Queen of Swords in all of us, male bodies, female bodies, trans bodies, cis bodies, intersex bodies, whatever. We all have the queen. We're all queens. And not only for a day. So, yeah, we've got the Queen of Swords here. And this Libran quality, a lot of people, very interestingly, and I think inaccurately, point to Librans as somewhat wishy-washy. And my stepfather was a Libra and was not wishy-washy in the least. And I spoke with Christine Payne-Towler about that recently. And she pointed to, she highlighted for me that Librans only appear wishy-washy or indecisive when they haven't had the time or have not spent the time to figure it out for themselves. And sometimes they have not been allowed the time, but sometimes they just haven't taken they haven't put the energy into figuring out what it is that they think is correct. And once they've got that, just get out of the way. Yeah? Because the Queen of Swords is sophisticated. And the Queen of Swords appreciates nuance. Sometimes they're seen as the herbalist or the shaman or the witch out in the woods. Someone who has special knowledge or special psychic powers. Sometimes that is pointed out for the Libran, especially in antiquity. However, this Libran has a penetrating gaze. They are self-sufficient. They are independent. A lot of people say, oh, Librans, they're all about balancing relationships, but they are independent. They are the fulcrum of the relationships, which is not enmeshed in the relationship, but is the balancing point. Does that make sense? And they're intellectual. They think. It's more about their thought and their understanding than it is about their feelings of relationships, which is more of a Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces kind of thing, right? This is an air sign. The Libran is also proficient in using what is stereotypically thought of as masculine and feminine ways of thinking, which are stupid, I think, ways of categorizing those ways of thinking, but there's the more piercing, dissecting way, and also the holistic, broadly viewed, holistic way of thinking. And the Libran is able to organize both and all ways of thinking into a very efficient and powerful thought process. Now they can work it all out, but it takes time. And if they haven't had the time, that's when they can start looking like they are indecisive or, again, wishy-washy, because they're doing a lot of stuff up here, right? So one caution for this card in this deck is that only self-aware people who are internally consistent and possess integrity, those who walk their talk and show the refinement of long cultivation, only these people can truly be comfortable in the presence of this queen. Yeah, and that sense of beauty comes from Venus in Libra. Right? The beauty, the culture that is appreciated by the thoughtful and penetrating Libran. So what does that mean for these two cards together? And I think these two cards are together in this spread. Now, we've got Venus in Aries rearing her chicks with all of that power, recognizing the entitlement and the privilege that is there for her and her chicks. Perhaps more willing to take risks, more able to face danger, balanced and co-joined with this Libran attitude of penetrating thought, of sophistication, of nuance, and clarity and independence. And just like a Tauran, you don't want to rush, You don't want to rush the Libra. So this is the energy, these are the attributes that we might be experiencing in our worlds in the coming week. And that's part of living an intentional life, is it not? If we are open, we can, yes, I described the current of intention as a river, which sounds very cool and refreshing, doesn't it? But there is an energy, there's a power there. There's a fire within that water. And so opening ourselves up to that power of intention can sometimes feel like this, that energizing feeling. And to be able to navigate ourselves, we want to have these Libran attributes awakened for us. And so we're going to look to what lies beneath. What is that Four of Discs card resting on, sitting on? And you noticed that the Four of Discs card was sitting on the Eight of Wands. 4, 8 below, 4 above, a nice balance of number. That makes sense. Yeah? You saw that fire burning in the 4. That fire burning in the 4 echoes the fire burning in the 8. This is an earth card. This is a fire card, a wands card. And yet they are echoing each other, right? The 4 and the 8 echo each other. The fire in the earth echoes the fire in the wands. So our Four of Discs, our stability, our energized, ramped up stability in the Four of Discs is resting on, is sitting above this burning fire below of the Eight of Wands. And you can see the fire burning. It's the light that is beaming in here from the upper right-hand corner, it's up here in the upper left-hand corner. In the upper left-hand corner, that energy beaming in. And you see at the bottom that this is the Leo decadent of Sagittarius and its subruler, the Sun, from which the fixed aspect of mutable fire's vital attributes enter our world, enter our reading right now. The fixed aspect of mutable fire. Above we had the mutable aspect of fixed fire. Sitting above, below, we have the fixed aspect of mutable, let me say that again. Above, we had the mutable aspect of fixed earth. Mutable aspect of fixed earth resting above. Below, we have the fixed aspect of mutable fire energizing the earth above. I hope that makes sense. I'm not sure it's coming out of my mouth right, but it makes sense in my head. I hope it makes sense to you too. So we've got the Sun in Sagittarius, which ramps up that move forward. I'm going to follow my inspiration and I'm going to move forward and live the life I want to live. Oh, okay, never mind. Well, I'll correct myself when I get there. I made another mistake today already in this video, but we'll get there in just a second. This is the Eight of Wands, and we also have an exaltation of Jupiter in Cancer here, which is odd. We've got that cardinal water expanded here by Jupiter moving in with all of its abundance and expansion and revitalization. So we've got that here. We've got a little bit of a splash of water here in the Eight of Wands card. So what does that mean? It could be that we're closing in on a goal. And maybe that's why we're feeling this ramped up energy. We're getting close to having something manifest or accomplished or created. So there's a sudden acceleration here. Large amounts of energy are about to be released. Remember this card, right? Remember this card. Large amounts of energy are about to be released. And so we want to remember that this is the time to master ourselves before we can avail ourselves of that energy. Like a Libran would, master self so we can avail ourselves of that energy. Yeah? We want to be able to conquer our fear of fire before we can use it productively. Does that make sense? And we're ready to leap into action and respond properly if we have our proverbial shit together. And if we don't have our shit together, we're going to careen off into the bushes with that energy because we're not focused. We're not able to move it in the correct direction. So this exaltation of Jupiter and Cancer reminds us that we also have perhaps heightened activation of our intuition. Our intuition is expanded here, and we can learn from our interactions and the reactions of others and our own reactions to situations we are in, and our emotional intelligence can also teach us and be the information resource that we use to be able to harness that fire, that energy, which is entering our world right now. So this is again what's resting beneath the Four of Discs. Fire, burning, the furnace here is what energizes that Four of Discs. But we want to be careful that we are ready to use that energy properly. And what if we're not? Well, I think that's where this next card comes in. Sorry, friends. I had a little bit of an error here with my video, but we're back on track. And I was about to say that, or I think I was saying that I had made a mistake earlier when talking about this last card. This last card is not the Knight of Wands, it's the Knight of Discs reversed. And you'll notice that the Knight of Discs reversed is a gorgeous card, right? We've got this beautiful knight standing there holding a shovel, giving us the sense of earth, holding a shield with that divine triangle, echoing a little bit the divine triangle, at least to me, of the Queen of Swords right there at the top, the divine triangle. Yeah, we got the divine triangle here in the Knight of Discs as well. And at the very bottom, you can see that this is Virgo, right? Virgo, which is the domicile of Mercury. We got Mercury way back up there at the Four of Discs. Mercury in the Virgo house of Taurus. I'm sorry, in the Virgo decadent of the house of Taurus. We had Mercury in the Virgo decadent of the house of Taurus. Here we just got plain old Mercury in Virgo, but reversed. And you'll notice that when this card is reversed, the sun comes out at the top, right? Yeah, there's a little disc down there, but the sun with the face is at the top left-hand side of the card, right? Correct, I mean? Which reminds me of the sun, which was in the upper left-hand corner of this card, upright, the Eight of Wands. So we've got that energy from above beaming down into this reversed Knight of Wands, from which mutable Earth's vital attributes enter our world. Right? Mutable Earth's vital attributes are entering our world in this card. And who is this Knight of Wands? Well, reversed, this Knight of Discs, I've got this thing with Knight of Wands right now. This Knight of Discs has lost connection with the earth. The Knight of Discs here is rootless. And as this knight is rootless, there's also a sense of anxiousness and disempowerment for this knight, which causes anger because of this doubting everything mindset that the knight is in. This knight second guesses everybody and everything and themselves. And that kind of reminds me of the Queen of Swords in reverse. Doesn't that remind you of that as well? The Queen of Swords, independence, able to figure it all on their own, self-sufficient, intellectual. Now, if you look at the guidebook for this deck, and you look at the reversed meaning for the Queen of Swords, you won't get this at all. But still, on a spectrum of Queen of Swordsness, of these characteristics, this seems to me to be at the opposite end. Yeah, doubting everybody, self-doubt, angry doubt, feeling disempowered, whereas the Queen of Swords is absolutely empowered. They need a time alone to putter and to do their own stuff and not be pushed or prodded or felt like they are needed by anybody. They just need to cut off. Or they'll start blaming others and blaming themselves when things start going wrong. And have you ever noticed that when things start getting ramped up, and these are qualities that burned out, aren't they? So that's why I really felt like burnout was is the cautionary tale for this square of divine light beaming into our lives right now. Need time, so when things start getting ramped up, we might need time to be by ourselves, putter around, doing things that are inconsequential so that we can recover our energy to be able to re-engage later. And we also might need to learn to forgive. Yeah, we might need to learn to forgive God, whatever we want to name we want to put on that being, whether it be God, whether it be universe, source, divine mother, Gaia, great spirit, Allah, Brahman, whatever we want to call that, we might need to learn how to forgive that divine being and life and ourselves and other people for imperfections that can appear. And imperfections are going to appear when we've got these cards like this. Now, when the power, the energy is ramped up and we start to recognize that we are going to start taking advantage of it. Remembering that we need to learn to stay focused and deal with our fear of that energy, whether we acknowledge it or not. So there are going to be imperfections. There are things that are not going to go as the Queen might hope. And so this is potential. Does that make sense? So this is actually a very, very good reading. This is an excellent reading. We've got power, we've got energy, revitalization, and the privilege and the entitlement and the responsibility that comes along with all of those things. And we have the mind to be able to navigate all of these with the powerful flow of intention. And yet, this card is possible. This is something we want to avoid. And if we can turn this card right side up, which is always possible, we'll have the attention to detail, the focus of a Virgo with Mercury, which was indicated by the Virgo decadent of Taurus in this card, right? We can take advantage of that if we don't allow ourselves to get burnt out by resistance, by fear, which is resistance, by anger at imperfections, which are resistance to the natural flow of our intention. That makes sense, yes? If it doesn't, let me know in the comments below. So friends, if it does, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear that, oh wow, that's interesting. That I realize something, or yes, that confirms what I think. I'd love to hear what you think. So friends, we're about to jump into the vertical part of the spread, which is the representation of the wand growing in the divine light. Let's take a look. And remember, you can always stop this video and come back to it later if this is too long. Now remember, you don't have to watch this in one sitting. But here we go, into the wand growing in the divine light. Here it is. You just saw in this beautiful redrawing of a deck by Ouds Picard, 3 cards rising from the earth. Yes? We had, starting from the bottom, the 3 of coins. Very good for a spread that started with a lot of earth energy. Yes? And then the page of swords, which in this deck is a page of water. Would be a page of cups in another deck. And then we had the 2 of wands. Very nice balance of elements growing up. We started with earth, we moved into water, swords but water, and then we moved into the fire of the wands. And that's the order we're going to read these in. So let me begin with the 3 of coins, this beautiful, beautiful card. Do you see the 3 signs there in the discs? In the bottom left, we have the sign, well, a symbol for Taurus, the bull. In the bottom right, we have this sign which represents Capricorn, and at the very top, we've got a symbol which represents Virgo. All 3 coins, Taurus and Capricorn, are underground, and Virgo is above. And Virgo, remember, is the domicile of Mercury. And we had a lot of Mercury in the divine light beaming through into our lives this week. A very mercurial week, and we've got Mercury on top for us. So this is an undertaking beginning to show profit or benefit. Makes sense from that divine light beaming into our lives, right? Yeah? Things are starting to look like they're going in the direction we want them to go in. Benefits. We're reaping some benefits, or at least the benefits are becoming visible for us. And because Virgo is also a sign of agriculture, Virgo, it's right at the beginning of the harvest season, right? Harvest. This can also be the growth of what has been planted, and harvest is coming. Now, in the past we've planted, harvest isn't here yet, but it's a-coming. So this is the growth period, kind of like that 8 of wands. So maybe like the little worm in the ground here. Do you see the worm there in the ground? Yeah? This worm is ready to come, is getting ready to burst forth and become maybe a butterfly. And it kind of has that taste of the 7 of Pentacles in a deck drawn by Pamela Colman Smith, to me. But here we've got it in the 3 of discs. Now that it's growing, it's not ready yet, but we see the rewards potential. And from this, we move into the page of swords, which is the page of water. And interestingly, according to Picard, it's Picard, this is the intelligence worker, the spy, or the decoder. This page is able to navigate environments of high contrast. Good and bad, fast and slow, conservative and liberal. Now this page is able to navigate all of that. And this page carries messages between hostile parties. So this is the negotiator page, which makes me think a lot of a swords page, right? But according to Ouds Picard, this is still a water page. So we've got things growing, and as things are growing, not yet ready to harvest, we see the benefits. We want to be nimble like this page of swords, to be able to navigate the environment, to be able to have the energy to continue on the path of growth without falling into either one or the other camp and losing our self-control, losing our autonomy, and falling into potential burnout, right? So this nimbleness, and also our ability to communicate with other people. And to be able to continue that, we also want to be careful, I think, of burning out, because that could be a great source of energy being drained. Feeling like we have to be the one negotiating instead of enjoying the one carrying messages between camps. If we can do it in interest and excitement and fun, perhaps we wouldn't fall into a pit of burnout, right? So this is what's growing, and this grows into the Two of Wands. Oops, where are we? Two of Wands. Was I showing you the page? If I wasn't showing you the page, this is the page. Man, I don't know. Maybe it's the weather. It seems like I'm in the midst of brain fog here trying to do this with you. And I hope I'm not completely confusing you. But this is the Page of Swords. And now we're going into the Two of Wands, which is a gorgeous card and a fruitful card. We see the wheat growing from below. We see the grapes growing from above. We've got, I'm sorry, it's not wheat growing from below. There are flames from below. There are flames from below. My Xerox copy, they look like wheat, but they're not. They're the flames rising from below, turning the air into steam, and that steam is feeding the grapes at the top. So moderate fire transforms the dampness into steam, which is nourishing. So this card, according to Uzbekard, is cooperation and alliance for productivity, which helps if we are able to negotiate with very different kinds of people, like the Page of Swords is able to. Yeah? The sun's energy here sprouts the seeds and spurs the growth in all young plants. So we've got this growth here. With this page in between, we've got more growth here. The sun's energy is allowing those plants, which we noticed the benefits growing in this card, to continue growing in the light of the sun, which makes absolute sense because that's what the sun was teaching us. The divine light was teaching us about growth and ramped up energy and the benefit of having clear vision and independence and self-mastery at this time. And also here to be able to negotiate between diverse people and to navigate stark contrasting environments as well. So that we're still able to move in the direction of this continued growth, right? So this is all really, really good. This is all excellent. We're about to look at the three cards coming in from the left, which is how we can grasp this growing energy and our nimble minds. Here we go. Here are those cards. This is one of the two new decks for this lunar cycle, right? And you saw the cards moving from left to right were the moon, La Luna. Then we had El Cielo, which is judgment in other decks. And then we had the Two of Cups. Yeah, we had water again, which is interesting. And it's an interesting way for us to finally grasp a hold of that sprout which is growing in the divine light. But we're going to start with the moon. The moon. Here's the moon card right here. Beautiful card, very typical actually. We've got two pillars instead of two towers. We've got the sunny looking moon shining between them. We've got the two dogs. And instead of the pool being at the very front of the image, the pool is kind of here in the center with the crustacean coming out of it. And you can see at the very top right-hand side, the top left-hand side of the card, we have the Hebrew letter Tzadeh. But before we get to that, let's look at the fact that this card in this deck gives the moon associated with Cancer, which is the domicile of the moon. Pretty good attribution here, from which cardinal water's vital attributes enter our world. So we've got cardinal water here, moving forward with our emotions. And Tzadeh, the Hebrew letter, is the letter of a javelin or a fish hook, but it's also associated with the number 90, which was Sarah's age, in biblical Sarah, who gives birth to the nation of Israel. Not all in one fell swoop, but her first child is the father of the nation of Israel. And she gives birth her birth is announced. She had not been able to conceive until she was 90 years old. And then when she was 90 years old, she got a visitation, an annunciation, similar to what Mary, the Virgin Mary, Jesus Christ Mary, got before she conceived, right? Sarah also got an annunciation of the birth of a child when she was 90 years old. So there's that in this card as well. Birth, annunciation, news, divine messages. It's also associated with the 18th rune, which is Berkana, looks like a bee, which is new beginnings, fertility as well. So we got an echo of that fertility idea in this card. Regeneration, maybe a love affair, but also maybe birth. Again, an echo of Tzadeh, which is interesting. Now, according to Picard, this is using memory and reflection. The soul finds its path with its own light. So we look back at the experiences we've had, we ruminate, we reflect on them, and in that process, and in doing that, we find our soul's light, and we are able to follow that. The card before this is the star, where we see our North Star, our guiding compass, right? Might be a divine inspiration. It might be our morals, our ethics, our North Star, our compass. Here, it's a little deeper. It's a little more watery. It's that our soul's spark. We're able to follow that soul's spark along with our powerful current of intention here in this card. Picard instructs us to use our imagination here. And we've got Cancer. Yeah? Difficulties do not put a Cancerian off. They don't back down. Yeah, they're going to move forward. They've got their shell. They're emotionally connected, but you get in their way and they're going to move forward because they're cardinal, right? So we follow with our intuition, we follow our soul light, and we don't back down. We keep going. Even when we see that things might be appearing in our way, we don't back down. We find our way around them, maybe like that Page of Swords in the Wands card, in the card representing the wand growing in the light of the divine. And this moves us right into what to me actually looks like the sun, but it's not. It's card number 20, not 19. So this is Judgment, or the cycle. And you can see that Pisces is down here on the side, right? On this side. On the left-hand side. It's always the left. On the left-hand side. there's Pisces. So, Judgment in this deck points to Pisces, which is the domicile of Jupiter. We had Jupiter up in the divine light spread, part of the spread. Jupiter expansiveness. We also had Jupiter in Cancer up there, remember? So we had Cancer just a little while ago, and here we have Jupiter in another water sign card in Pisces. And this is associated with Resh, which looks like a backwards gamma, which is the Hebrew letter associated with the head, the whole head. And it's the beginning of a new cycle. It's also associated with the number 200, which gives us a little bit of a polarity, and that polarity is reminded to us through the sun and the moon being here together in this card. Polarities of good and bad, light and dark, with the 200. Points to both wickedness and higher consciousness, libido and superego. It also points to the rune Manaz, which looks like an M with extra lines, which is the rune of destiny. Kind of a judgment kind of thing, right? Self-knowledge, spiritual power, intelligence and foresight. Also divine order and awareness. Divine awareness, which is a wonderful thing to follow the moon card. Yeah, so we follow our intuition, we follow our soul light, we don't back down, and we move into this new cycle, navigating the light and the dark, the contrast, just like that Page of Swords had to do, the contrast of the 200, which we just mentioned, into self-knowledge and spiritual power. And as a Piscean, we recognize that the last shall be first. So the more privileged we have, the more we're able to feel empowered, the more we want to be the servant leader, the servant ruler, who empowers those they are leading. Right? We want to remember our eternal nature here as well, and know that our way forward is visible to us when we can respond. If we're ready to respond, the way will be visible for us. And we should be able to respond, and it should be visible to us if we have already embodied those aspects of the moon card. Right, so we come from here, and now we're navigating the binary, the contrast. We feel the divine order of things, and we're aware of the divine order of things, and we have our self-knowledge, and our spiritual power is growing within us, and we move into the Two of Cups. And we can see in this Two of Cups, we have the roses around and the symbol, the actual sign for Venus in the center. So we can see Venus in many aspects of this Two of Cups card, which is an air card. Remember, this is cups. In this deck, it's going to be air. That's why it looks like a crystal goblet, right? The roses here symbolize Venus. And we might think of Venus in an air sign as recalling the Queen of Swords. Venus in Libra, right? Venus in an air sign. Now, it's not directly associated to Libra in Picard's writings, but it reminds me of Libra, being, again, Venus in an air sign. So we have the Libran drive to harmony and beautiful relationships here. There's a prospect of a sentimental and affectionate union as well. But there's also an attraction between the opposites. Yeah, we had some contrast and opposites in the 200 indicated by Resh in this card. Here, those opposites can be joined. And we can have agreement without contention. We can find assent, working with other people, working within ourselves as well. Agreement, internal agreement without contention. That's how we grab a hold of that wand. Yeah, we followed the light through the moon card, through the judgment card, into a beautiful union of Venus in the air. Harmonious and beautiful relationships, internal and external. Of course, external relationships are a mirror of our internal relationships as well, right? The more we love ourselves, the more we are able to experience love with others. So that's how we're able to grasp that growth that is available to us in this spread. Now, we've got 2 cards for advice at the very bottom. 2 oracle cards. Let's take a look at those right now. The 2 cards you saw are, I think, beautiful, but they may be a little hard to read. Yeah, there's text at the top, which is in a very fine cursive script that is, I think, difficult to see, particularly as these cards are not positioned upright. Now, you noticed, of course, that they were round cards. And when we shuffle round cards, they will not only be upright or reversed. I mean, even if you don't intentionally do shuffle in reversals, round cards are going to start shifting. So they could be in any position, upright, reversed, pointing to the right or to the left. And that's the way I read round cards. And let me give you just a little bit more information about that. So for me, an upright card is just an upright card. That's the meaning indicated in the deck, with the attributes associated with the card, etc. A card that's a card that is in reverse, that is reversed, indicates a resistance to whatever attributes are associated with that card. So for example, if the upright version is love and relationships, the reverse of that card would be a resistance to the opportunity to love and the resistance to relationship. Now, what if it's pointing off to the right? If it's pointing off to the right, that means that we're trying too hard. So in the case of love, we're trying too hard to love. We're putting too much effort into relationship, which can be unbeneficial, right? There's an appropriate amount of energy to be put into relationships. If you put in too much, the other could be overwhelmed and feel invaded upon, or we could start going into burnout really easily. Now, if the card is pointing off to the left, that means a weakness to the attribute. That we don't have the energy or the ability to experience love right now. Something is it's not a resistance to it. It's not working too hard to it. It's not having the energy for that. And so there needs to be some healing around that attribute for it to move back up into upright. So there is a lack of energy and a call for more energy in that aspect, perhaps love, when it's pointing off to the left. When it's pointing off to the right, it's a call to step back, calm down a little bit. Now, when it's in reverse, it's a call to stop resisting. There's something available. When it's upright, it's upright. Does that make sense? So that's how I'm reading these cards. And you saw that both of them were pointing off to the right, right? So the first card we saw was the card for Taurus. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see. It says Taurus at the top, and it says the Lover. Yeah, at the bottom it says the lover. And we see this beautiful image of the bull in green. And the advice here, when it's upright, is living it up and enjoying physical experience. They have that Tauran attribute or ability to really enjoy the physicality of being Venus and Earth. Yeah, enjoying the beauty of stuff around us, whatever is around us, nature, our home environments, enjoying the food we eat, the things that we drink, enjoying the smell, the fragrance of things, that beautiful Venus and Tauran attribute is here in this, the lover, the Tauran lover. So here it was this way, right? Where we're putting too much energy into that. So our sensual connection with the body here, though, we may have been trying too hard to enjoy, trying too hard to get the zest out of life. Yeah? So we're called here to focus, to pull back a little bit and focus our energy more in the lines of what we're doing. Give our attention more to the tasks, the work we're here to do. We will benefit from working with more focus. Not more energy, not working harder, but with more focus. Can you see the distinction there? We're not called here to burn ourselves out by working harder. No, we're here to take a step back from our, again, trying to enjoy every bit of our physical experience in these beautiful bodies that we're co-creating, and pull back and focus more attention into the tasks that we're performing. Maybe reach for more structured routine. Not adding more things to our routine, but adding more structure to the routine we have, and more attention. That would help us avoid burnout, because trying too hard to enjoy stuff also leads to burnout. And this card was paired with this card. Let me get it lined up. Yeah, this card in this direction, but let me show it to you upright. Upright. This is the blessing moon. Can you see that at the top? Probably it's difficult to see. I have a hard time reading the script at the top. It is the blessing moon, and at the bottom you see contentment. So this is the moon in Leo, which is playfulness, pleasure, good times, leisure, vacation or travel. Stuff we'd want to do as a Tauran, right? But here, again, it's pointed this way and we're trying too hard. Perhaps we're trying too hard, and so we're starting to feel sluggish or lazy. It's time to, instead of going out and finding good times and travel and vacations, it's time to chill out a little bit and play. Just play where we are. Play in place. Instead of shelter in place, play in place. Perhaps gather with our community, if we have one, that will help us feel more aligned, that will help us feel more energized. Not energized like we're going to a rave, but energized like to wake us up out of our slumber. To get our fires stoked again, to get energized, but channel that energy into our creative work that we want to do, like a good Leo would. Yeah, so this is the moon in Leo. And the moon in Leo here, when it's balanced, is instead of let's party, it's let's enjoy doing the work that we're doing. Now let's find our creativity in the work that we're doing, which is a wonderful balance to this Tauran lover also pointing in the same direction. So what is the advice in a nutshell? That we'll benefit from focusing, from structuring the work that we're doing into a routine that makes sense to us, and finding a way to enjoy, to play within that structure, to enjoy the work that we're doing and to find our creativity within that work that we're doing. Rather than reaching so hard for it out in the distant, whether that's physical distance of travel and vacations or the energetic distance of, yeah, let's get our party hats on and let's dance in the streets and let's make a beautiful vacation, which is wonderful, but this isn't the time for that. This is the time for focusing and making a party of the work that we're doing, which would allow us to avoid that night of discs. I got it right this time. The night of discs reverse in this ramped up energy that we're feeling. And so this is perfect advice, don't you think? I hope you think so. I think it is. And that's something that I'm going to focus on doing in this coming week. In finding play within my routine, giving attention to the things that I'm doing and not trying so hard, because there is energy available to us. Just give it attention, give it appropriate attention, and it'll grow. And we'll find ways to navigate the contrasts that will appear, and we'll find a way to unite those contrasts in the Two of Cups. And that's the way we can get a hold of those things that are growing in the light of the divine. That makes sense, doesn't it? I think it does. I really, really think it does. And if you think it does, again, comment below. I'd love to hear from you. If you don't think it does, comment below. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to engage on this. If you experience this in your world, let us all know. And friends, if you have made it this far, I bless you with great gratitude. And please hit the thumbs up button because it helps the channel. It really does. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. And comment below. I would really love to hear from you. And friends, if you want a private reading from me, my email address is below. After all the links for the decks, there is an email address. thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com. All one thing, all small letters, no spaces, no hashtags, no nothing. All one line. Shoot me an email. We'll get you a reading. I'd love to read for you. Big reading, small reading, long, short, Tarot de Marseille, Rider-Waite-Smith based deck. I've got lots of choices for you to choose from. Let's play a reading together. So friends, thank you. Thank you very much. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.